Under the intense glare of the stadium lights, the crowd held its collective breath. It was the bottom of the ninth inning, the score tied, and the atmosphere electric. Every fan in the ballpark knew what was about to happen. Roki Sasaki, the young phenom known for his unmatched fastball and icy composure, was walking toward the mound. The roar from the stands rose like a wave, echoing the emotion of thousands who had come to witness a moment that would soon be talked about across Japan and beyond. The tension was almost tangible as Sasaki adjusted his cap and stared down the batter. The opposing team had runners on second and third, no outs, and the game hanging by a thread. It was the kind of situation that defined legends and destroyed nerves. For a moment, the camera zoomed in on Sasaki's face, calm, unreadable, as if the pressure meant nothing to him. His catcher gave the signal, and with a slow exhale, Sasaki went into his motion. The first pitch blazed past the batter at 101 miles per hour, slicing through the air like a lightning strike. The crowd exploded. The batter didn't even swing, just stood there frozen, the bat on his shoulder. Sasaki nodded slightly, almost imperceptibly, as if confirming that his rhythm was set. The next pitch came, another fastball, this time on the corner. Strike two. The tension in the stands turned to awe. People began to chant his name, Sasaki. Sasaki, their voices rising into the cool night air. The third pitch was a masterstroke, a devastating forkball that dropped out of the zone at the last moment. The batter swung helplessly and missed. Strike three. 1 out. The crowd roared again, louder than before. The team's dugout came alive, players pounding the rail, shouting encouragement. Sasaki didn't flinch. He simply walked off the mound, tugged at his jersey, and prepared for the next hitter. Now, the pressure mounted even more. The next batter was a veteran slugger, known for clutch performances in high-stakes moments. The crowd quieted slightly, the tension cutting through the noise. Sasaki's first pitch, another fastball, came in at 102 miles per hour. The batter fouled it back, barely making contact. The second pitch was an off-speed curve that dropped perfectly over the plate. Strike two. At this point, even the commentators were losing their composure. One of them exclaimed, "He's painting the corners like a master. This kid has ice in his veins." The camera panned across the audience, fans biting their nails, children standing on their seats, old men gripping their caps in nervous excitement. The third pitch came, another forkball, perfectly disguised. The batter swung too early. Strike three. 2 outs. The stadium erupted once more. Now there was only 1 out left between the team and survival. But standing in the batter's box was the cleanup hitter, the most dangerous man in the lineup. He had already hit a home run earlier in the game and looked determined to end it here. Sasaki stepped off the mound for a moment, wiped the sweat from his brow, and took a deep breath. He looked toward his catcher, nodded, and set himself again. The first pitch was another heater, 101 miles per hour, fouled off. The next one, a fastball high and tight, forced the batter to step back. Sasaki was testing him, measuring his timing, his patience. The count went to 1-1. The next pitch came, a slider on the outside corner. Swing and miss. 1-2. The crowd was on its feet, chanting louder than ever. Sasaki looked completely in control. The camera zoomed in again on Sasaki's eyes. There was no fear, no hesitation, just pure focus. He began his motion, lifted his leg, and delivered what might have been the most important pitch of his season. The forkball dropped out of the zone at the last instant. The batter swung, missed. Strike three. The inning was over. The stadium exploded in joy. Fans leapt to their feet, waving towels, clapping, shouting. Sasaki clenched his fist, gave a quick nod to his catcher, and walked calmly back to the dugout. The emotion from the bench was overwhelming. Players ran out to greet him, high fives and pats on the back all around. What made this moment so special wasn't just the strikeouts, it was the composure under pressure. At only 23 years old, Sasaki had shown maturity and control beyond his years. Facing the heart of the opposing lineup with the game on the line, he didn't just survive, he dominated. Every pitch was deliberate, every decision calculated. Fans watching from home flooded social media with reactions. Hashtags like, #Sasaki saves the game, and #Unreal ninth inning, began trending within minutes. Japanese commentators compared it to some of the greatest late-inning escapes in baseball history. International fans called it a clinic in pitching under fire. In the post-game interviews, Sasaki remained humble. When asked about the pressure, he smiled slightly and said, "I just focused on one pitch at a time. The crowd gave me strength. It was a simple answer, but one that captured the essence of his personality: calm, grounded, and respectful of the game. Analysts later broke down his performance pitch by pitch. His average velocity for the inning was 100.6 miles per hour. His forkball spin rate had dropped just enough to create the perfect late movement. His release point stayed consistent throughout the inning, a sign of his elite mechanics. It was the kind of technical precision that only true professionals could appreciate fully. The dugout cameras caught touching moments too: teammates embracing, fans crying tears of relief. For a few seconds after the inning ended, you could see the opposing manager shake his head in disbelief, muttering something under his breath. He knew his team had just run into a wall they couldn't climb. Back in the stands, fans continued to chant Sasaki's name even as the next inning began. Kids waved homemade signs that read, "King of the Mound," and "Sasaki Magic." It was more than just a baseball moment, it was a cultural one. A young man representing Japan's next generation of greatness had delivered when it mattered most. What made this even more dramatic was how sudden the situation had been. Before the inning began, the team had been clinging to hope. The bullpen had struggled, and the opposing team was rallying. Bringing Sasaki in wasn't part of the original plan, but when the manager made the call, everyone in the stadium knew it was the right decision. The cameras even showed the dugout conversation before Sasaki entered. The pitching coach put a hand on his shoulder, asked if he was ready. Sasaki nodded once and simply said, "Let's finish this." That confidence wasn't arrogance, it was conviction. He wasn't thinking about failure. He was thinking about execution. And execution is exactly what followed. Each pitch seemed to defy logic: fastballs with impossible velocity, breaking balls with mesmerizing movement, forkballs that vanished into thin air. The opposing hitters looked helpless, swinging through pitches as if they'd never seen anything like it. By the time Sasaki walked off the mound, the crowd was chanting his name in unison. It was the sound of admiration, pride, and awe. In that moment, he wasn't just a player, he was a symbol of perseverance, control, and national pride. Later that night, replays of the inning dominated every sports network. Analysts compared his composure to the legends of the game: Ichiro's calm focus, Ohtani's showmanship, and Darvish's tactical brilliance. Sasaki, however, seemed to blend all of these qualities into something entirely his own. Baseball fans across the country stayed up late watching highlights of his performance. Some described it as a masterclass in pitching. Others said it reminded them of watching a samurai on the mound, precise, fearless, and honorable. The poetic quality of that final inning made it more than just a sports highlight, it became a story. In a season filled with ups and downs, this moment stood out as a defining one. The escape in the bottom of the ninth wasn't just a save, it was a statement. A message to everyone watching that greatness isn't measured by comfort, but by how one performs under pressure. For the younger generation of players, Sasaki's performance became an inspiration. Kids practicing on dusty fields the next day tried to imitate his delivery, his calmness, his demeanor. Coaches used his inning as a teaching tool, showing how focus and discipline can overcome even the toughest challenges. The legend of that night continued to grow. Fans began calling it the Miracle Ninth. Local newspapers printed front-page headlines celebrating the escape. Even neutral fans admitted they hadn't seen something so thrilling in years. Weeks later, during interviews, teammates recalled how quiet the dugout was as Sasaki took the mound. No one said a word, one of them said. "We all knew he'd get it done. It's just who he is." That kind of respect doesn't come easily, it's earned, pitch by pitch, inning by inning. As the season moved forward, that ninth inning became a turning point. The team found new momentum, riding the energy of that moment into their next games. Sasaki's confidence seemed unshakable, and his presence on the mound brought reassurance to every fan watching. Long after the final pitch, the memory of that inning still lingered. The slow walk to the mound, the 3 consecutive strikeouts, the explosion of noise, it was the perfect blend of skill, heart, and timing. Even for those who didn't understand the technical side of baseball, it was emotionally unforgettable. It's rare to witness such moments in sports, when one player's focus and courage redefine what fans believe is possible. But that night, Sasaki did just that. He didn't just pitch an inning, he created a memory, a story that will be told in highlight reels and documentaries for years to come. He became, for that single night, the embodiment of what every athlete strives for: calm under chaos, mastery under pressure, and victory against all odds.